Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're
Yeah.
going to jump right in because we actually forgot to start live streaming so that y'all could be a part of our conversation. And so here we go. We're going to just jump into where we were, which
It's
was
so much
really
fun.
talking
Yeah.
about therapy, behavioral therapists, and other kinds of cognitive therapeutic approaches that are now using more and more mindfulness techniques, and how we see our energy framework as a part of that, and what we might be able to enrich in that approach through energy.
For sure. Yeah, well, we were talking about mindfulness, and I'm very excited that, people are more and more embracing mindfulness, and even in professionally, people are, happy to be doing mindful practice because there's research, and, whenever there's research, you can say it's empirically validated. We need that, and as if people doing something for thousands of years needs empirical validation, but apparently it does. So,
Yeah.
And I just think like the Qigong and TCM framework offers something even deeper than mindfulness alone. And that's what excites me. Whenever I listen to these programs, I'm excited that they're out there, but I realize but they're not addressing the whole person in the way I've come to understand the whole person. So that to me is, really important.
Yeah. Yeah. I always like to connect mindfulness to Buddhism. And one of the things I see in Buddhism, at least the way I've learned it, I'm most familiar with Nichiren Buddhism. And the whole idea is for you to get to this place in you that is your most sacred place. People call it your Buddha nature. That part of you that is the all-knowing, that is the part that doesn't know limits, that transforms poison into medicine, right? That part of you.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so when I think of mindfulness, I think of that part of us, right? That it can get us there. However, I also see that what we do from this perspective of just starting by seeing people as energy forces, like we just start that way. And that's literally the way Nichiren Buddhism starts. It starts by looking at the person as a being with all this possibility, right? Yeah. And I think for me, seeing somebody as what in our practice we call an energy being, it's like they're limitless. They're infinite. They have this way. And so these obstacles they're facing in their lives, we know they can get past them.
Yeah, that's so I'm a little picky here just to say that this Buddha nature you're talking about isn't a part of them. It is them.
Yeah.
Everything else is a part of them.
Yeah.
Everything else that we talk about ourselves, the way we talk about ourselves, those are all we could say parts of us, because the mind wants to break things down into parts. But the essential nature, which is the Buddha nature, is that which is connected to everything.
Right.
So it's a big idea, right? And yet in practice, we can encourage people to think this way, because the alternative is you're stuck trying to fix small parts. And then you're basically in an illness model, because illness says this is broken. Oh, my knee hurts, or today my back hurts. My back hurts. So, oh, well, what do I have to do to fix the spot in my back? And well, if we go in the modern way of thinking, we want to figure out what's going on in this structural part of my body. It's now materially understood, physical, and now it's a part. But I know, I prefer, in my understanding, to say, no, that energy is everywhere. We have meridians, we have energy structures that connect us to everything. So everything connected to everything.
Yes.
So this area is just making noise. At least I associate it with that area in my mind. I don't really know where it's from, because it's connected to everything. Yeah. And everything is changing and turning and moving and shifting. So there's no problem, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that, Larry. That's the more evolved place to be, right? Because you've been practicing these ideas forever. Let's just say that, right? Forever.
For a long time, maybe forever even. Yeah, it could be forever.
Forever, right?
Yeah.
And so but the person who comes to us and feels this back pain or feels this like emotional pain, they're not always right there.
No,
All
they
right.
are not.
Now, because I've studied these things, when I feel an emotional pain, I can say, okay, that's real. I'm feeling that. That's real
Sure.
for me. And I am this. This is the essence of me. And as I can get to this essence, I know that I can find a way through this pain and this reality. So the mindfulness practices can help someone slow down their process enough to be able to actually get in and experience that deeper part.
Yes.
So that's, I think, the beauty of it is this how powerful your own awareness can be, not just to lead you into focusing on the symptom itself and how bad it is, but it can lead you to understanding how that thing brings you to something even greater, right? That what's ringing in my mind is an interview that I heard with John O'Donohue, this Irish mystic, poet, priest, and he said he read Meister Eckhart, who talked about a place in the soul that cannot be touched by anything, and the place within that can't be touched by anything. And O'Donohue said, a place within us that's never been wounded. Right. So I said, so there's a place in, like, there's somewhere I've just never been hurt. I've never been, there's never been any struggle. Yes. Right. So, like, I'm Black, so struggle is like a real thing in my family line. Right. So a place in me where I've never had struggle, that is just like mind blowing. So my awareness, though, can help me get to this understanding of myself. Same thing with yoga nidra. That's the goal, is that every time someone practices that yoga nidra meditation, they actually come to that place where they only know themselves as essence, as that pure essence that's a part of everything. Exactly what you're saying, right? Our practice stuff, but it's like meditating to get here so that you can stay there longer, right? That's how our practice is. We do our practice so we can get there and we can spend more time there in our everyday life.
That's beautiful. Wow. You really said that beautifully.
Okay. So now, Sandra, I'm going to call you, Dr. Sandra, out on the same thing you called Larry out on, which is, that was all very beautiful. And you are coming from a place of a person who's been doing this for some time. So for you, that awareness of a place that's never been hurt or wounded or suffered, you spent a lot of time discovering that place. Now I'm going to come back to the person who's just like, all right now I'm miserable for whatever reason, and I need some relief. I just want to feel better. I'm going to this behavioral therapist, going to help me get some strategies to move out of this place. And we're going to add this strategy of mindfulness, right? So how is that strategy of mindfulness going to come into play to help me move out of this space? I think it sounds very odd, and I don't see why, blah, blah, blah. So again, with the mindfulness added into the mental health approaches, in a couple, like in a few words, here's my experience of it. All right. Just giving yourself a few minutes to breathe, right? Going back to inch by inch, going back to simple, going back to a place where you can just say, I'm going to take a breath, and then I'll go back to whatever I was doing before I started breathing, and just see what happens.
And breathing, but also just let yourself pay attention to the experience of breathing.
Okay. And
so, again, I think that's a beautiful thing. What we want is for people to move their consciousness away from this entangled, tight knot they have with the problem.
Yes.
That they can experience something else that's also occurring, like, oh, look, my body has this rhythm of breathing. Yes. And so that's a beautiful thing. Or, for us, because we're oriented towards energy practice, we do the second energy gate.
Yeah.
And ask people to pay attention to this experience of just massaging around this heart area. And because it has an energy property, it can start to move things that then can start to shift their experience, their consciousness, because there's energy behind it. So the mindfulness practice is beautiful, and can interrupt this kind of tight, interlocked thinking and feeling, which is what you need to do. You need to break that pattern and get people starting to be calmer internally and show that they can do it themselves, which is essential. And for me, the energy practice does that too, but it adds that other dimension. It's because it's energy, it's already connected to that aspect in our being that's connected to everything.
Yeah. And I think we're also talking about, we're helping people balance the practical with the much more expansive. Right. We're starting, and wherever you are, wherever you start is fine, because there are days when I start in that place where it's like, what, I'm in a knot. Oh, is this? And right. I still have days like that.
Sure.
But how much do I love it that I have access to these practices that just allow me to say, I'm gonna slow this day down and ease this knot. I'm just gonna ease this knot, because now, because of my energy practice, I think of the knot as a ball of energy.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Right.
Really, it's a shift in my perspective. Right. So with a mindfulness practice, I can start to say, okay, I'm aware of this. But when I become aware, eventually I can just become more and more aware that I'm so much more than the knot.
That's it.
That there is something here that's so absolutely what like the knot. Wait a minute. Right. So like that. See, I'm wearing my wool shirt today. And it's like that, right? That kind of, like in psychology, those insight learnings. And if we can have that with whatever we're practicing, it's beautiful for us, I believe, because we start with energy. We start with it all connected already.
Right.
And then, but if anybody can start small and get to that place where the knot dissolves and they start to be aware that they're just so much more than any knot that ever comes along, then we all won. That's right. Yeah. We all got it that day.
We all are one.
Yeah.
So that's so beautiful and concrete. The beautiful thing is that you are getting up and looking for something more than where you are right now in this particular moment, whatever way you are finding forward. Bless your sweet hearts, and know that you have the ability to move from the particular to the expansive. And in the expansive, you're going to find some more love for yourself and for everything you're going through. So, thanks, Pig and Dragon, Dr. Sandra, Dr. Larry.
Thank you.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Okay.
Peace.
Peace.